Right, good morning. Just coming into day 2 now at Summer Fish Festival. Fish yesterday, there's no match footage from yesterday. Just basically because I wanted to get my head down and just try and get a good start. We knew it was going to be hard. Drew next to Ricky Teal yesterday, so it was nice, obviously, with my connections with Matrix. Good to have a good chat with him. As you can see, we're just at the other side of Match Lake today. But just looking across there, we're over on Spessy Lake at the far side. The weather's turned. No frost last night. It's obviously raining. It's going to blow again today. We're over in this section I'm over in C section today, which is this far end of the lake. £20 won the section yesterday, so just going to get his head down really. The weather's going to be an issue today, but we'll see what happens. As regards yesterday, I finished up. It was a bit of a smash and grab. I was second in the section, but after 3 hours I was bottom 2 in the section. I've tried everything. I've fished 16 metres and 32 metres. I've boshed it a little bit at 16 metres, and then at 32 metres I've had most of my catch. So I've had 13 fish, 13 skimmers for £16. Caught on maggot, but I've had to feed, I've had to not feed, I've had to change everything, and I've not spotted one single pattern yesterday. Every fish has come through doing something different, which concerns me a little bit, but it just means that we've really got to just keep on his toes, I think, feel our way into each match, and if they want some feed, give them some feed. If they're not wanting it, don't give it them. Go a little bit further to pick off an extra fish, and I really think it's going to be like that for the remaining 3 days. So I got smashed up at the next peg in the last 40 minutes. The guy next to me is just out of the blue. He's had 7 skimmers in the last 8 chucks. I can't believe it. He says he's not fed anything. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. He's just put ground bait through, but it's certainly something to think about. But everyone he's got has been a good fish. It's been £2.5, and one of them he thought it was a carp. It was a £3 bream that was hooked in the tail. And he's ragged it in, thinking it was a carp, but he scooped it up, and he's gone on to win the section. He's won the match as well with £30, which is awesome. But he's had, like I said, most of that in the last 40 minutes. So they can turn up at any time, and you've just got to be ready to respond to that. But I mean, that's skimmer and bream fishing. So anyway, we're going to head in now. Like I say, I'm in C section today. I'm in there with Richard Vaughan, who's a travelling partner, and Martinidis, which is not good because we're going to be taking points off each other. Richard Vaughan, second in his section yesterday, did brilliant. Beat everyone round him yesterday. He was over in D section. But we're all in the same section today, so it's going to be a good battle. But like I said, the weather's going to be an issue. Just going to head in now, go and get a coffee, and hopefully get a decent draw. So we'll see you down on the bank. Fancy this area today, I've got to admit. It's day 2, and there was some fish caught here yesterday. Usual setup really, bait brolly, as you can see we need that today. There's quite a bit of space here, and I really fancy it. Like I said, I'm going to fish 32 metres. I know Brian Clark fished here yesterday. He was second in section with about £19 I think he had. But he didn't have a bite for the first hour and a half, so just going to see how it goes, feel the way into the match, and if you've got to start feeding and putting more feed in, then that's great. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
How's your watch, kid? Is it alright?
You know, it's not as good as yours.
I get a Rolex.
The old fossil.
The old fossil.
It's a nice peg, isn't it, mate?
Lovely, who's made this one?
Me and my mate Mark.
He's a bit oily when
John's been jumping to it, John, hasn't he?
Get any
Give it
nicer?
to a shot, hasn't he, John?
You ought to give him names because they're getting so nice.
He gave me this gold, right?
Jamie Boy is supplier.
22. Yeah, too late. Well, I think somebody's got me there.
I'm sure he's got something there.
You know the Mark.
Baby power.
Left power.
Is that all you got?
No, he's running there.
Right, so yeah, come off 3, but they don't count.
Put 20 into that much, you well, it's good. He doesn't. 24 left.
No, lad, Sad Richard's got a load.
Come car.
No,
White.
Second to keep you in the mix-up though, Jane, wouldn't it? You don't win it. Second to keep you in the mix-up if you don't win it, wouldn't it?
hopefully,
Good,
yeah.
Mark.
I found the quarter calf. Fair play.
Hey,
Martin!
Wrong match.
Right, not much footage from day 2, I'm afraid. The weather was actually horrendous yesterday. The wind really got up, but I've drawn over in C section. The peg produced £19 on day 1, so I knew there was some fish in the area. Brian Clark did well from there. He was second in section, but unfortunately the pegs at the top end, the second and third pegs in from the end, actually dominated on day 1, and I've got to admit I've been quite disappointed. I've got to admit I've really dug deep on that peg today, and I fished 2 lines. I fished 16 metres and 32 metres. I put a lot of gear in at 16 metres. The plan was to put a bed down and just completely leave it alone, don't top it up, and go on it after 2.5 hours. So I just fish long, 32 metres, and just pick off what I can in that first period. To cut long story short, I put 4 feederfuls out at 32 metres, nothing in it, and then I boshed all my gear and I put 1.5 litre of bait in at 16 metres with a big cage feeder, and then I've left that for 2 hours. I've gone on my 32 metre line straight away, and I've had 5 fish in the first 5 chucks. First 20 minutes I've had 5 fish, but worryingly at the time they were only small, probably 6-8 ounce fish, but it was a good start. But I've lost the fish, they've gone from there, and that's been it. That line has been virtually useless for the rest of the day. It's not working. I don't know why, but it's not worked. Bang on 2.5 hours. I've gone on my short line, and I've had 4 bream in 4 chucks. Well, proper skimmers, 2-pounders. Brilliant response, but then that's faded. And really my match has just kind of gone from there. I've kind of topped it up a little bit with 8 to 10 maggots, that's all. And then I've gone back out long trying to nick fish, rest it for half an hour, then back on the short line. And I've just ticked over doing that really. Every time I've gone on that short line I've caught, and I've had 3 fish in the last 4 casts as well, which time of day, I mean that's what we expect for, you know, expect that line to get stronger as the light fades and the day gets on. So I finished with 24 pounds 11 ounce, which I was over the moon with, to be honest. My target was 20 pounds to win that section, but as it turns out the 2 pegs that are produced up to my left, they've just dominated the section, which is really annoyed me really. But I mean it's skimmer fishing at this time of year. You expect venues to be peggy anyway, but it wasn't like this last year. The fish were spread out, but there's definitely a pattern showing this year that it is peggier. So I've ended up 3rd in the section, which has given me 3 points. I would have settled for second, to be honest, which would have given me 2 points overall, 4 points overall. But so I'm sitting on 5 points overall now after 2 days, which has put me in 6th place overall, which is not a million miles off the pace. And today's going to be pivot. It's day 3 now. I've drawn it. I'm in B section today. Peg 22 on Spessy Burr. So I'm just about to go back now and just hopefully get some fish today. On record, it's the wrong end of the section. The 2nd and 3rd peg in from the end of the section have dominated this section for the last 2 days. Brian Clark's one of those guys. He's on 4 points and he's drawn one of those pegs today. Phil Briscoe's on the end peg. Lee Edwards is 2 to my right. So on paper it's the wrong end. But having said that, £14 won the section yesterday with £11 second. So you know, if I could somehow get £9 or £10, it could be a top 3, and that on paper is the best I could do. But I'm just going to get my head down, same plan as yesterday. Wind stronger, we're going to get some rain today, but yeah, just going to knuckle down, just catch whatever I can. Every fish counts now, so today's a pivotal day, so we'll see you down on the bank. Right, you join us today. We just want to talk about day 3 basically. I'm here with Richard Vaughan, who's now lying in. What position are you in?
Joint third, I believe.
Joint third, and that's on weight. There are 3 people on 3, but I've just really got Richard here today because I just wanted to talk about what he actually did. He's won a section on day 3. Only, what was it, £13?
£13, yeah.
£13, so it's been an hard section anyway,
Very
but he's beat everybody around him, and what he's doing is working. I mean, on day 2 he had £21, which where he drew has been a phenomenal weight for what had been caught on those days. My match on day 3, really, I hate to say it, maybe the drawbag's done me a little bit, but to cut a long story short, I've ended up with £8 odd. I've only had 8 bites all day. That was 6 skimmers, a roach and a carp, and most of that weight's come in the last 20 minutes on my short line. It's put me 5th in the section, which has given me 10-point total, which has put me in, I think I'm 8th overall going into today, which is the final day. But I just want to talk about Richard. Richard drew on, what permanent peg was it?
Permanent peg 13.
13 on Specie Burr. Been an odd section, but can you just talk us through what have you fished 2 lines? What did you do yesterday?
Yeah, basically there's 3 lines, but two are the same. The long line, which is 30 metres,
Right.
which everyone's doing, and what's happening this year is it's been noticeable that people are feeding bits of feed, bits of worm, bits of maggots and everything. Well, I stayed away from that to start with a slightly different ground bait mix, using a fish meal and lean mix, 50-50.
Right. Okay.
Simply because what we're trying to do is, my belief is that the fish are up in the water on this line. I'm just trying to get a trail down there and get one to follow it. It's that hard.
Right. So you're right. Okay. So
Yeah,
you're creating a trail. They're up in the water, and you're trying to get them to go down and hopefully
Just
find your
see
bait.
the one. There's no feeding it whatsoever, barring the ground bait side of it, which is 50% a fish meal based ground bait,
Okay.
and then the other 50% is damp oil on the wet side.
Right. So you've really fished for 1 fish at a time.
Yes, yeah, that's what happens. They're up in the water, I believe, and by casting over the practice days or training days, if you like. Last year we were doing it on a shorter period, but this year seems to be that 2 minutes is the optimum time.
Is it? Right.
From hitting the surface to actually retrieving and doing it again. And the bites have been little inconsistent, usually by timing yourself. You know when you're going to get a bite, but that hasn't been the case. You might get 2 at 40 seconds, which I did yesterday, and then right on the end of your time I've got another couple. So, and they are a bit smaller fish, but in the sections where it's been really hard, I have caught quite a lot of small fish.
So you've had the quantity. How are you timing, Rich? If you don't mind me asking.
I just count.
You count
because
it?
the short period of time.
You're not using a watch or anything.
I'm not.
You
No, I
count.
just count it out, and it gets you into a rhythm. So I count it out, and I'm doing 120 seconds. At 60 seconds, I give my bait a little twitch, which has generated the odd bite as well. So that's what I've been doing. So it's been 120 seconds on that line. The shorter line, which has been worked for me the last 2 days, I caught a few fish on it yesterday as well. Been feeding with just ground bait at the start, having a look at it after an hour or so in case there's one sat there, and then topping up again with the big cage feeders,
Yeah.
which is basically the size of a ball of ground bait you'd make with your hands.
What we're talking quantity, your cage, am I right in saying your 1 cage of the
Would
size
be
is about 1/4 kilo?
Yeah.
Sorry, 1/4 of a litre?
It is indeed, we've measured that.
And you're
it's-
putting 2 in?
I put 2 in, and then when I've come off it and I do it again, and then, which has been the really best one, at sort of 2 o'clock, the match is finishing at 4, I put 2 in again, but with some feed in it.
Right.
Theory being that the fish are coming to 14.5 metres where they get fed a lot on the pole line to feed. So this is full feed, it's
Right.
full feed ground bait, there's particles in there, a bit of chopped worm, a few maggots, without being ridiculously over the top, but there's something there, you get a few set on it, and it's worked the last 2 days.
Right, okay, brilliant. Well, it's day 4 now, final day. Richard's obviously in contention. If I get a section, I might scrape in the top 5, but we'll see. You've got a B section today, which for you guys that know Larford, it's the top end, it's in the 20s of Specie Burr Bank. You're going up there today.
Yes.
Same approach today?
Very much so.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fish caught yesterday by feeding and waiting, but consistently there were a lot of people did that and didn't catch.
Right.
So I'll be doing the same approach for an hour and a half, which is hard work if you're not getting bites, but hopefully I can get it working, and then we'll turn that into a feeding line if it goes good. If not, we'll persevere with it and hopefully drop on the short
So
line
you
later.
can feel your way into it and react. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks for that, Rich. Appreciate that. Like I said, day 4, we wish Rich all the best. I'm going over to D section today, which is around the 70s, the far corner of Spessy. Potentially it could throw up a big weight. There's a 29 pound from there yesterday on one particular peg, which has done well the last 2 days, which is peg 80. So I'm going to use the same approach again today. There will be some live footage down there today. I'll have the camera on today, so we'll just see how it goes. Like I say, it's the final day, so we're just going to go for it and hopefully keep his heads. But thanks for that, Rich. Appreciate that, and
More than welcome.
good luck later, mate.
Yeah, you too. Have a
All
good
right.
one, mate.
And you too. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Right, it's day 4. I've drawn peg 76 on Spessy. D section, peg 80's thrown up 2 big weights the last 2 days. 29 pound yesterday, peg 80, but that was totally on its own. Why the fish rolled in there, we don't really know. We think it's a little bit deeper there anyway, so that could be the reason. £3 off this peg yesterday, £2 the next peg. I think it didn't fish well, but you just got to get his head down and do what we've been doing all week. Same approach again today. So kit wise, 3.3 metre Legend slim rods. I've got 2 set up on 4000 Aquas reels with braid. As you can see, this is the short one. I've got that clipped up at 16 metres, just a little band on there. That just reminds me that that's the short one, because it's just a nice little tip for if you're using identical setups. The other rod's clipped up at 32 metres. That's the main line that I'm going to work for the first 2.5 hours before trying the short line. The other rod on the roost here is a 10-foot Fox Warrior. It's a carp rod really, and that's just a feeding rod. It's on a 5,000. I've got a 5,000 Aquas reel on there, and that's just for feeding. I'm going to feed that with a cage like that one. I've been feeding that all week, that short line, with 1.5 litres of ground bait with very few freebies in there. So I'm going to do that, bosh that, and like I said, I'm not going to go on that until 2.5 hours in and just have a quick look. Matty Pilly caught here on that short line 2 days ago, so hopefully there might be some in the area. But yeah, so that's it. Setup wise, 4.5 metre landing net pole, great bit of kit. I've seen 2 fish lost already this week that they've come off just before the net. You know what skimmers and Bremer like, 4.5 metre landing net, and they'll just scoop them up as quickly as possible. I've got a specimen landing net set up. Obviously it's Spessy Lake, a lot of big lumps in here. They only count for £1, but you want to get them in as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and that net will allow you to do that. Usual setup. I've got a large rod rest today. Richard caught a lot of fish yesterday moving it, so I'm going to be doing that today, and a rest like that allows you to do that and adjust the tip accordingly. It's a nice clean bottom out here today. So if I'm not catching, I'll certainly be going down that route just to try and trigger 1 or 2 bites. That's it. It's peg 76. Like I said, peg 80 has won the last section the last 2 days. I haven't seen any fish rising yet, but there's a bit of a breeze coming now, down and in, so I'm just going to feel my way into the match basically. I'm not going to feed anything to start with and just see how it goes. I can't see any other anglers, which is a bit awkward sometimes because you don't really know what's happening around you, but just got to fish your own match, get your head down, and hopefully we get a few bites. Right, we're back from the Larford Silverfish Festival, and I've got to admit I'm a little bit disappointed with the overall result, but that's fishing. We know how unpredictable it can be at certain times. I don't mind saying I was over the moon to have won this competition last year at my first attempt, and it was very noticeable that last year there was a system to the way that it fished and the way that the fish were feeding. This year it's been very, very different, and I've finished up with 15 points. I needed 10 points to get into the top 5, and looking back on the week as a whole, I've had more than enough opportunities to get into that frame. I don't think I could have won it with the approach that I've taken and the way I've fished, but I should have been probably top 3, I think. There's been a couple of days I've had indications and signs, I've maybe not read them quite right. I've come off 1 or 2 fish as well, which does happen. Whether they were hooked properly or whether they were just foul hook fish, we'll never know. And same with the indications. When you're fishing braid at relatively short range, you're going to see every indication, even if there's skimmers and bream just round the feeder. But I've learnt a hell of a lot this week, hell of a lot. Certainly no regrets about going and fishing it. Like I said, I've not finished a million miles off the pace. After day 2 I was in 6th place, and it's been tight. It's been very tight. These events always are. Big well done to Richard Vaughan coming on 3rd. One thing Richard's proved to me is that our approach, the ground bait mix and everything that we've done has been right. It really has been right, because he's made it work. He's obviously done it slightly better than me. He must have. I've used a slightly different mix on 3 of the days. I've used less lean than he has. I've changed that on day 4, and I've still not really had a positive response from it. To cut a long story short, most of my weight this week, with the exception of day 1, has come on the short line. I've boshed it with a litre and a half of bait, and I've left it for 2.5 hours. I've not even topped it up in that period, and it's worked every day to some extent. Admittedly, some days it's been really, really late on, and I mean late, last 15 minutes, but that's been enough. 4 or 5 casts, and you've got, you can build up a big weight, because a lot of the fish on that line have been good quality fish, so they've been it's been worth nurturing that line and persevering with it, because if they do turn up, you could put a weight together. So yeah, it's been a good week. We fished the open match on the Sunday. That was just an open match. It was a classic qualifier. I just fished for carp that day. To be fair, I fished the method. I came 4th overall, which was good, and that kept me sharp for the skimmer fishing for the following 4 days. But no, it's been a good festival. Learned a hell of a lot from it, hell of a lot. But I've had opportunities, and in order to get those opportunities, I must have done things that are right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have them. But I've obviously done things that weren't quite right, because I haven't capitalised on them. But that's it. We'll definitely be back next year. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, big well done to Richard on coming 3rd. It's been great to spend a week with him and my other mate Martin Edis. He's not drawn so well this week, but it's been noticeable how peggy it is, or how it has been. But that's what the other thing that I have seen this week, which I really feel I need to mention, is that I've seen people fishing so many different styles this week. There's been a lot there that have been fished like myself and Richard with active ways of fishing and trying to induce and create bites. But I've also seen people that have just sat old school bream style, 10-15 minute casts, and they've just put the rod down and sat there. Some of them set 1 rod up, and that's also worked, as well as other approaches. And the same goes for mixers. I've seen a lot of people using dark mixers this week, obviously fish meal mixers, but especially on day 1, the guy that won the lake and won the match with £30, he used a bright yellow mix. I don't know if it was corn based, but it was definitely fish meal, bright yellow, and he's had 7 fish in his last 8 casts. So it just shows that with different, we all think there are magic mixers out there that we get confidence in, and that's great to have that confidence in mixers, but it also shows you that it's not always a rule. So plenty to think about for next year, and plenty to take away for the rest of the year, because it's been good to see how different approaches have, in many cases, achieved the same results. So a great week as always, an exceptionally well run contest. It's a great event. I recommend it to anybody, assuming it's going to go ahead again next year, which I hope it does. So yeah, so now we've plenty of other projects to look forward to for the rest of the year. Won a few quid this week, probably won enough to cover the expenses of actually going and fishing there, and obviously it's been great to see a lot of people that I haven't seen for a year. So yeah, it's just coming into springtime now, so yeah, plenty more projects to look forward to, plenty more events coming up. So thanks for watching again, and there'll be plenty more to come in the next few weeks.